Welcome to ESL listening practice. Have you ever walked into a bookstore, felt that genuine rush of excitement, picked up a beautiful, crisp new book, and carefully carried it home?
Only to just, place it on a shelf where it sits completely unread for months.
Exactly. Months, or honestly, perhaps even years.
It happens to the best of us. If you, our listener, are glancing over at a stack of books in your room right now, or maybe thinking about that massive pile on your nightstand that you keep promising yourself you will read someday.
Someday, right? That famous word.
Exactly, someday. Please know that you are absolutely not alone. It is an incredibly common, almost universal human experience.
It really is. I mean, I am looking at my own bookshelf right now, and I can easily spot at least 10 books that I bought with the absolute best intentions. I haven't even cracked the spine on a single one of them.
Not even the introduction.
Not a single page. And that is exactly what we are talking about today. We are sharing our own research and personal insights into the psychology behind this exact behavior.
It's a genuinely fascinating question. Why do people consistently buy so many more books than they actually read?
Right. And that is our mission for today's session. But because we are in an English learning environment, we have tailored our conversation specifically for you, the intermediate English learner.
Yes, think of us as your conversational guides today. As native English speakers and teaching experts, we want to help you explore this psychological phenomenon, but we are going to do it while simultaneously breaking down the complex English vocabulary that surrounds these ideas.
We really want to look at the nuances of these words. Not just the strict dictionary definitions, but how we actually use them naturally in everyday English conversation.
So because of that, we are going to take our time.
Absolutely. We will speak clearly and deliberately, making sure you have plenty of time to absorb both the psychological concepts and the language itself.
We really encourage you to listen actively today. Notice how we construct our sentences.
Yeah. And notice how we use context to explain a concept, and how these vocabulary words fit into the rhythm of a natural dialogue.
So let's get right into the first major finding from our research.
Yeah, let's do it. We discovered something incredibly interesting about the way our brains react in a bookstore.
It's pretty wild, honestly.
It is. The mere act of buying a book actually makes us feel productive. We feel like we are improving ourselves before we even turn the first page.
Right. It's as if simply handing over your credit card at the cash register gives you this immediate sense of personal growth.
But wait, let's unpack that. Why does that happen? I mean, I haven't actually learned anything just by holding a paper receipt.
Well, it all comes down to the psychology of reward systems in the brain.
Okay.
When you buy a book on, say, history or maybe a guide to improving your personal finances, your brain gives you a little reward. It releases a chemical called dopamine.
Dopamine. The feel-good chemical?
Exactly. You get a sudden rush of positive emotion. You feel accomplished, even though you haven't done the actual work of reading the text yet.
So the brain is sort of jumping ahead to the finish line.
Yes. And this feeling of accomplishment without the necessary effort is what we call an illusion.
An illusion. I love that word. Let's break that down for our listener.
Yeah.
Illusion. It feels like my brain is playing a trick on me, right? It's making me believe something is happening when it isn't.
That is precisely what an illusion is. It is something that seems real, but is not completely true.
Right.
In a literal sense, you might think of an optical illusion.
Like a visual trick.
Yes, visualize this. Imagine you are walking through a hot, dry desert. In the distance, you see what looks exactly like a beautiful, shimmering pool of blue water.
Oh, a mirage.
Exactly. But as you walk closer and closer, the water completely disappears. It was just heat waves reflecting the sunlight.
So your eyes played a trick on you.
Yes. The water seemed entirely real in that moment, but it wasn't true. That is a classic visual illusion.
Okay, so in the context of buying a book, we're experiencing more of a behavioral illusion.
Right.
It's kind of like, imagine buying a very expensive professional pair of running shoes.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
Right. You put them on in the store, you tie the laces, and instantly you feel like a marathon runner. You have this sudden illusion of fitness.
You feel athletic just by owning the shoes.
Exactly. Even if you haven't run a single kilometer in them.
That is a brilliant parallel. And that is exactly what happens with your bookshelf at home.
So that unread book sitting on my desk creates the illusion of productivity.
Yes. You look at it and your brain tells you, I am a person who is actively learning about this topic.
But the reality is quite different.
Very different. Because buying a book is an incredibly easy, instantaneous action.
It really is. It takes one click on a website or 2 minutes at a cash register.
Actually, reading that book, however, requires you to be disciplined.
Discipline. Now, there is a word that carries a lot of weight.
It really does.
It's so much easier to say than to actually be.
Yeah.
When we talk about being disciplined, we're really talking about having the self-control to stick to a plan, right?
Yes, having self-control and the ability to follow through on your intentions.
So if we look at the contrast between those two actions, buying versus reading,
You can see exactly why the brain prefers the illusion.
because buying requires zero discipline.
None at all. You just need a little bit of money and a few seconds of your time.
But sitting down every single evening, opening the book, focusing your mind, and reading chapter after chapter, night after night.
That requires high levels of self-control. You have to follow a structured plan to finish a 400-page book. You have to be highly disciplined.
But surely my brain knows the difference between swiping a credit card and reading 400 pages.
You would think so.
Right. So why is it so easily tricked into giving you that dopamine reward just for the purchase? Am I lying to myself?
Well, you aren't lying to yourself, not maliciously anyway. It really comes down to your intentions.
My intention.
Yes, when you buy the book, your intention is usually pure and positive. You genuinely mean to read it.
That's true. I really do want to learn when I'm in the bookstore.
Right. And the brain recognizes that very positive, ambitious intention and rewards you for the desire to grow.
Ah, I see.
The problem and where the illusion lives is in the gap between your intention to do something and the discipline action required to actually complete it.
So we have this pure intention, we buy the book, we get the dopamine reward, we feel incredibly productive for about an hour.
And then you put the book on the shelf.
We put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
And because we already got the emotional reward, the motivation to actually read it drops.
Exactly. The brain says, we already feel good. Why do the hard work?
Wow. And then a few weeks later, the cycle repeats. We go right back to the bookstore.
It is so relatable.
It is. And honestly, it leads us perfectly into our next major insight.
Yeah.
Because the specific books we choose to buy, even if we never open them, actually say a tremendous amount about who we are.
Yes.
In our research, we found that books act almost like mirrors. We call this the identity effect.
The identity effect. This is a deeply personal aspect of the psychology.
It really is.
Books are profoundly connected to our internal identity. We very often buy books because they represent the kind of person we desperately want to become.
Right. Not necessarily because we have the time or the energy to read them right this second.
Exactly.
I have to admit, I am completely guilty of this.
Oh, I think we all are.
Let me give you a personal example. So a few years ago, I went to a bookstore and I bought 3 incredibly heavy, complex philosophy books.
Philosophy books? Okay.
Yes. I'm talking dense, difficult translations of ancient texts.
And have you read them?
No, not at all. I haven't even made it past the introduction to the first one.
But you still bought them.
I did. And subconsciously, buying those philosophy books meant that I wanted to see myself as a thoughtful, deep, intellectual person.
And by placing them in your home prominently on your shelf, you were reinforcing that identity to yourself.
Exactly. I was building an identity.
Or consider a different scenario for our listener. Perhaps someone goes online and orders several thick books about business leadership, macroeconomics, and startup culture. Buying those specific business books means that person wants to see themselves as ambitious, driven, and destined for financial success.
Or maybe you are someone who always buys classic novels and collections of romantic poetry.
Yes, poetry is a great example.
Buying those kinds of books means you likely see yourself as creative, romantic, or highly reflective. You are essentially curating a version of yourself.
Curating your identity, and all of these choices are deeply tied to a crucial vocabulary concept for an English learner to understand.
Which is?
Self-perception.
Self-perception. Let's dive into that word.
It's a compound word.
Right. When we use that term, we are really just talking about the way we view our own character.
Yes, but let's break it down into its components so we can truly understand how it functions in English.
Good idea.
Self obviously refers to your identity, your individuality.
That part is pretty straightforward.
The second part, perception, is a noun that comes from the verb perceive.
To perceive. P-E-R-C-E-I-V-E.
Exactly. To perceive something means to look at it, to interpret it, or to understand it in a very specific way.
So when you put them together, your self-perception is literally how you look at, interpret, and understand your own identity.
Yes. the way we see ourselves.
So it's the internal story we tell about ourselves.
Exactly. And a great way to fully grasp self-perception is to contrast it with how other people might see you.
Oh, that's a good point.
For example, your friends might perceive you as a very funny, relaxed, easygoing person.
Right. They see you at parties, you're laughing, and they think you don't have a care in the world.
But your self-perception might be that you are actually a very serious, anxious person who works incredibly hard to appear relaxed.
Right. The way you view yourself internally, that is your self-perception. And it doesn't always match the outside world.
No, it often doesn't. And this brings us right back to those unread books.
Because the books help shape that internal story.
Yes. The books you buy are physical, tangible objects that support and validate your self-perception.
They are like props in the story you were telling about yourself.
That's a great way to put it. They represent who you want to be.
Represent. Now, that is such a great word for this context.
It really is an essential word for B2 learners to master.
Because the book isn't just paper and glue anymore. It's doing a job. It's standing in for a bigger idea.
Yes, to represent means to stand for or symbolize something abstract.
It is a highly useful word in English because we use physical objects to represent abstract ideas all the time in our daily lives.
Can you think of an everyday example for our listener?
Well, like a nation's flag, for example.
Perfect.
A flag is ultimately just a piece of cloth with some colors and shapes printed on it.
Right, physically, that's all it is.
But it isn't just a piece of cloth to the people of that nation. It represents an entire country. It represents their history, their values, their shared identity. It symbolizes the nation.
Or think of a wedding ring.
Oh, another great example.
A wedding ring is just a small circle of metal.
Just a little piece of gold or silver.
But culturally, it represents love, loyalty, commitment, and the institution of marriage.
In the exact same way, that unread business book sitting on your desk isn't just a stack of paper and ink.
No, it represents your personal desire for success. It stands for your ambition.
I want to invite you, the listener, to do a quick mental exercise with us right now.
Yes, try this out.
Visualize your own bookshelf at home, or maybe the books you have stacked on your nightstand or your desk.
Look closely at the titles in your mind's eye.
What do those specific titles say about your self-perception?
It's a tough question, isn't it?
It is. What do they represent about your goals, your dreams, or the person you hope to become in the next 5 years?
It is a very revealing exercise. I think a lot of people realize they buy books for the person they wish they were.
Absolutely. And while we do curate our personal spaces to reflect our ideal internal selves, that isn't the only reason we buy books.
No, we don't live in a vacuum.
We don't. We are also heavily, constantly influenced by the outside world.
And this brings us to a very modern psychological phenomenon that drives our purchasing habits.
It's something I think everyone listening will recognize immediately.
The pressure of FOMO and the impact of social media.
FOMO.
Yes, FOMO.
If you are not familiar with this acronym, listener, it is incredibly common in modern English. We use it all the time now.
We do. It stands for the fear of missing out. FOM.
Fear of missing out. We experience this so often today.
We really do. When we hear about a massive popular book that everyone at work or everyone online is talking about, we don't want to feel left behind.
Exactly. We don't want to be the only person in the room who is uninformed.
So to protect ourselves from that feeling of exclusion, we buy the book.
Just to have it, just to feel included.
Yes, this fear of being left behind, this anxiety of exclusion, creates a very real psychological weight. It creates pressure.
Pressure.
And pressure is a fascinating word for an English learner because it crosses the boundary between the physical world and the emotional world.
Right. Because usually when I think of the word pressure, I think of something physical.
Like what?
Like if I press my hand down hard onto a wooden desk, I'm applying physical pressure. I'm using force.
Exactly. Physical pressure is a strong feeling of force applied to an object.
But in psychology and sociology, emotional or social pressure is an invisible force.
It is that heavy, uncomfortable feeling in your chest or your mind that pushes you to take an action you might not otherwise take.
So if all of your colleagues at the office are talking about a brand new best-selling thriller novel.
And it's a keep coming up to your desk asking, have you read it yet? Oh, you really need to read it. The ending is amazing.
They are applying social pressure.
Yes. The social situation is pushing you to act.
It's pushing you to go buy the book just so you can finally join the conversation at the coffee machine.
And if we look at the landscape today, social media has taken this social pressure and multiplied it by 1,000.
Oh, without a doubt.
We are no longer just dealing with the pressure from 3 coworkers in an office.
No, we are constantly bombarded with recommendations from all over the world.
We open our phones and scroll through videos of people passionately reviewing books
Sharing their absolute must-read lists for the summer.
and insisting that this one specific book will completely change your entire life.
It is completely overwhelming. And honestly, it leads to a rather funny mathematical irony in our modern lives.
What do you mean by mathematical irony?
Well, because of this constant social media pressure and this intense FOMO, our reading lists are growing exponentially faster than our actual free time.
Oh, that is so true.
Right. We might add 5 books to our online shopping cart in a single Tuesday afternoon.
Just from scrolling on our phone.
Exactly. But realistically, with our busy schedules, it might take us 2 entire months just to read one of them.
The math simply doesn't work.
It doesn't. We are buying at the speed of the internet, but we can only read at the speed of human biology.
It creates a massive backlog of unread material.
Yes, it does.
And I think this raises an incredibly important and relatable parallel for you, our English learner.
Oh, definitely.
You might feel this exact same pressure with your English learning materials.
Yes, listener, think about it for a moment. Have you ever bought a new, expensive English grammar workbook?
Or maybe you paid to download 3 different language learning apps on your phone.
And did you do it simply out of the fear that if you don't, you will fall behind in your fluency?
That is the exact same psychological mechanism at play.
It really is. You see a targeted advertisement for a new revolutionary vocabulary program.
You feel that pressure of FOMO, the fear that other students are progressing faster than you.
And so you buy it. You don't buy it because you actually have 3 extra hours today to sit down and study it.
No, you buy it because you don't want to miss out on the chance to improve. You're buying the idea of fluency.
That is such a powerful realization. And acknowledging that pressure is really the very first step to managing it.
We have to consciously realize that buying the educational material is not the same thing as mastering the material.
Owning the dictionary doesn't mean the words are magically in your head,
Sadly, it does not.
which leads us to perhaps the most practical, everyday reason why all those books and all those English workbooks stay unread on our shelves.
It comes down to the simple, undeniable demand of mental energy.
Mental energy. This is such a huge factor.
It is probably the biggest physical barrier.
And I think we often ignore it because we want to be overly optimistic about our own energy levels.
We think we can do it all.
Right. But we really have to contrast the act of reading with passive entertainment.
Passive entertainment, let's define that.
Passive entertainment is something you can consume without actively trying,
Like watching a movie.
or scrolling endlessly through short videos on your phone.
Or even just listening to background music while you cook dinner.
Exactly. These things are passive. The entertainment just sort of washes over you.
Reading, however, is intensely active.
Very active. It requires sustained mental effort.
And let's be honest, effort can feel exhausting.
To truly understand why reading is so active, we need to talk about focus.
Focus, yes.
In our modern hyper-connected world, focus is rapidly becoming a rare and highly valuable skill.
It really is. When we use the word focus, we are talking about the ability to concentrate your mind on one single thing without distraction.
And the struggle to maintain focus is so real today.
It's harder than ever.
Think about what happens when you try to sit down and read a book now.
You read one single
You're just getting into the story.
and suddenly your smartphone lights up with a notification.
A text message arrives from a friend.
An email pings from your boss.
A news alert pops up on your screen.
Every single one of those notifications is a tiny attack on your concentration.
They destroy your focus.
To successfully read a book today, you have to actively, aggressively fight off all those digital distractions to maintain your focus.
It is genuinely hard work for your brain.
It is. A book doesn't just passively entertain you while you sit back and relax. It requires your active engagement.
You have to visualize the characters in your mind.
You have to follow the logic of the author's arguments.
And especially for our listeners, you have to process the vocabulary.
That takes a lot of work. A book places a heavy demand on your brain's resources.
Demand. That is a crucial word for us to look at here.
Let's break it down.
It's a strong word. When a book places a demand on you, it's not just politely asking for your time.
Exactly. To truly grasp the nuance of the word demand as a language learner, let's compare it to a much simpler, softer word.
Okay, what word?
The verb to ask.
To ask versus to demand. Okay.
If I ask you for a glass of water, it is a polite, gentle request.
Right. You're just asking.
You can say yes, you can say no, you can say in a minute.
There's no real pressure.
But if I demand a glass of water from you,
Oh, that's very different.
I am requiring it strongly. I am leaving you no choice. I am exerting authority.
That distinction makes so much sense.
So if we apply that to our evening routines,
A passive, silly television sitcom might quietly ask for your attention.
yes. You can watch it while you fold laundry or check your phone.
It doesn't care if you're fully paying attention.
But a 500-page historical biography,
Or an intermediate English reading comprehension passage.
that text demands your mental energy. It requires your full, undivided attention strongly.
You simply cannot read a complex book while scrolling on your phone.
The book demands that you put the phone away.
Let's paint a highly relatable picture for our listener to show exactly how this plays out in real life.
I think we've all been in this exact situation.
Imagine the scenario. It is 7 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Okay, 7 p.m.
You have just come home after a very long, very difficult day.
Maybe you spent 8 hours working a physically demanding job.
Or staring at complicated spreadsheets in a stressful office.
Or maybe, since you are an English learner, you spent the entire day living, studying, and trying to communicate in a second language.
Which we know from neurological studies is incredibly draining on the brain's energy reserves.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking and listening in a second language all day leaves you completely, utterly, mentally exhausted.
You feel like your brain has literally run a marathon.
So you walk into your living room.
You drop your keys.
The remote control for the television is sitting right there on the soft, comfortable sofa.
And right next to it, resting on the coffee table, is that thick, beautiful, complex novel you bought last week with such high hopes.
In that exact moment at 7 p.m. when you are exhausted, what does your brain naturally do?
Your brain rapidly evaluates the two options in front of it.
Right. The remote control offers instant passive entertainment.
It asks for absolutely nothing from
It
you.
requires 0 calories of mental energy.
The thick novel, however, demands focus.
It demands that you spend mental energy that you have already entirely depleted during your long day.
When you look at it that way, it makes complete biological sense why your hand naturally reaches for the remote control instead of the book.
It really does. Your brain is quite literally trying to protect its remaining energy reserves.
It wants to avoid the heavy mental demand of the text.
So you turn on the TV, and the book stays on the table unread for another night.
And the most important takeaway here is that we shouldn't feel immense guilt about that.
No, we should.
It is a natural biological response to being tired.
I'm so glad you brought up the idea of guilt.
Why is that?
Because that lack of guilt transitions us beautifully into our final section today.
Ah, yes.
Up until now, we have mostly been talking about the habit of buying unread books as a struggle or a psychological illusion or a problem of energy management.
Right. We've been looking at it as a sort of failure.
But what if we challenge that premise entirely?
I like the sound of that.
What if we challenge the idea that owning unread books is a negative thing at all?
Okay.
What if we try to look at the silver lining?
The silver lining. I love that idiom.
It's a great one for B2 learners to know.
And I love this perspective. For those who might not know, listener, looking for the silver lining means looking for the positive aspect of a seemingly negative situation.
Exactly, finding the good in the bad.
And to explore the silver lining of unread books, we have to look across the globe and share a fascinating concept from Japan.
Yes. In the Japanese language, there is a specific dedicated word for this exact habit.
It's called sundoku.
Sundoku.
Sundoku describes the practice of buying reading material and letting it pile up in your home without reading it.
I think the very fact that a single word exists for this specific action proves just how incredibly universal the habit is.
It truly is a universal human trait. We all do it, all over the world.
And some modern philosophical thinkers argue that these physical piles of unread books, the sundoku, are actually wonderful things to have in your home.
Really. Wonderful things.
Yes, they argue quite passionately that an unread library is not a sign of failure.
And it is certainly not a sign of laziness.
Instead, those stacks of books are visual, daily reminders that there is still so much to learn in the world.
They represent possibility.
Possibility.
That is such a beautiful, expansive English word. It feels very hopeful.
It does.
When we talk about possibility, we're talking about something that might happen or exist in the future, right?
Yes, exactly.
Let's look at the grammar structure of this word for a moment, as it is very helpful for a B2 learner trying to expand their vocabulary organically.
That's a great idea. The root of this word is the adjective possible.
Possible, right.
When you add the suffix aeed, spelled ity, to the end of that adjective, you transform it into a noun.
Ah, so you take a descriptive word, an adjective, and turn it into a thing, a concept.
Exactly. So the adjective possible becomes the noun possibility.
Possibility.
And you see this pattern everywhere in English. The adjective active becomes the noun activity.
Oh, I see. And the adjective complex becomes complexity.
Right. And the adjective curious becomes curiosity.
Curiosity. Understanding these suffixes allows you to multiply your vocabulary without having to memorize entirely new words.
It's a fantastic shortcut for language learners.
So, taking that concept back to our bookshelves.
When you look at your shelf of unread books, you aren't looking at a depressing pile of failed plans or broken promises to yourself.
You are looking at an entire collection of possibilities.
Yes. Each unread book is a totally new world you might explore in the future.
It is a new language skill you might master.
It is a new philosophy you might adopt.
It is a physical testament to your ongoing intellectual ambition.
This framing completely changes the emotional dynamic of the room.
It really does. When you reframe your unread books as future possibilities, you completely remove the guilt.
You stop beating yourself up.
And you realize that the primary driving force behind buying the book in the first place wasn't just a foolish illusion of productivity.
No, it was actually a very pure sense of curiosity.
Curiosity. That is such a perfect final vocabulary word for today's session.
It really ties everything together.
To be curious. When we describe someone as curious, we mean they have a strong, active desire to know or learn something new.
And curiosity is the fundamental engine of all human progress.
Think about it. When you were standing in that bookstore or browsing that website online, something caught your eye.
Something sparked your interest.
You had a strong, genuine desire to know more about that specific topic.
Even if that book ends up sitting unread on your shelf for 5 whole years.
It stands there as a physical symbol that you are a curious person.
It symbolizes your inherent desire to engage with the wider world and learn new things.
I think that is a wonderfully optimistic way to look at it.
It is.
So, as we bring our discussion to a close today, let's summarize the overarching themes we've explored.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We did. We started by looking at the illusion of productivity and the dopamine reward of buying.
We explored how books act as mirrors for our self-perception and identity.
We discussed the intense social pressure and FOMO of the modern world.
And the very real mental demand that reading requires after a long day.
But ultimately, we discovered that the true goal of buying books might not actually be to read every single one of them from cover to cover the moment you bring them home.
No. The real goal, deep down in our psychology, is simply to stay curious.
The challenge we all face in this fast-paced modern world is finding the right healthy balance.
We need to find a balance between buying less, reading more when we have the energy, and choosing our material carefully so we don't overwhelm ourselves.
Exactly. Before we go, we want to sincerely congratulate you, the listener.
Yes, congratulations.
You have been actively practicing your English listening skills today.
By focusing on this multi-layered discussion about psychology and vocabulary, you have genuinely exercised your mental energy.
You didn't choose the easy road today. You showed the discipline and the focus that we talked about earlier.
You did not choose the passive remote control today.
No, you chose the demanding, active work of language learning.
That is something to be very proud of.
When you think about your self-perception today, it should definitely include the words dedicated and disciplined.
Absolutely.
To wrap things up, we want to leave you with a final provocative thought to carry with you for the rest of the week.
Something to really think about the next time you walk past your own personal pile of Sundoku.
Consider this.
What if the unread books on your shelf aren't a list of your past failures, but actually a map of your future self?
What if each unread book is simply waiting patiently for the exact right moment in your life? The exact right phase of your journey to finally be opened.
Keep learning.
Keep reading when you have the energy.
And most importantly, always stay curious.
We will see you next time on ESL Listening Practice.